Okay, when's the last time you bought a home? Because I know you've all probably had a number of homes purchased over the years, but one thing you probably had in common with all of them, that you forgot something on each and every one of them. Whether you built the home, whether you got it as a resale, there's always something that's missing. Like this home. This is my home. I'm bringing you in to share it with you this week just because there's some things about this home that I wish was different. And a couple of things that I can say factually is these. The granite, this beautiful granite. I had to change it. I had to get rid of the Formica to put this stuff in. And the black appliances, they're just gonna be here until they get used up. There's no sense in getting rid of them, right? I have a ton of hi-hats put in. The recessed can lights, I put in about 60 of them inside and out. You wanna know why? Outside, the city was going to charge me not only an installation fee to put a streetlight in, but then they were going to also charge a monthly fee to have a streetlight. So I had to combat the whole system, had an electrician come out, put the hi-hats and hit inside, and I asked him to put it about every 5 feet all the way around the house. Now, it's kind of a running joke. My son thinks that our house looks like a spaceship, but it keeps people away. I also put in a 6-foot fence all the way around. Once again, didn't know I would need a fence until the neighbors' kids started walking through the yard to get to the other neighbors, and the parents would then follow. So when I'm trying to be out back, relax, catch some rays, I've got the whole family walking through the backyard. And it's a big backyard. I'm on almost a half an acre on a corner site, so it is a pie shape. It's about 167 feet across the back. It's a big property, which brings to another issue that comes up. I didn't think about mowing the lawn. At first I had a push mower. I push mowed this thing for probably almost 2 years. And then I got done with the whole workout mode because I was using it as part of my workout. Well, the riding mower came in very handy. So I jumped to that, and now my son does it when he feels like. He does get paid for it too, funny enough. But yeah, have to coerce him to do it. So point is, I had things that were wrong, had to fix them. You are going to have things that are wrong and you're going to need to fix them. But one of the first things that I do want to talk about on that, because I did get a list of things to consider, and one thing that came up is environmental things. So environmental would be like sinkholes. Sinkholes are not really a thing here in Southwest Florida. Can it happen? Yes. Has it happened? Yes. Is it a predominant problem? No. That's more up in Sinkhole Alley, which is up towards Tampa, a little bit north of it actually. But that area up there is much more prone to sinkholes. So you really have to do your homework on the land up there to make sure that everything is solid. Down here we deal with flooding. I don't know how much flooding they deal with up in that area, but we obviously have flooding issues. We have flood maps. We're building on higher elevations now just to get away from that thing. In fact, one of our newest listings has a stem wall that's probably about 2 feet high. That's just to help bring the whole home up so that you're not running into the flooding problems. So environmentally, those are some of your bigger concerns you'd be thinking about or worrying about. I'm going to give you one other one if you're a Gulf access home buyer. You, number one, are going to need a seawall. And Eric had a huge problem with this. His seawall is just being redone because after one of the storms, it got messed up. So his home is on hold until this is finished, but that wasn't where the problem started. The problem started when he found a mangrove plant, probably about this big. He found it at the shoreline, and they had to bring in the Army Corps engineers and do a bunch of hoop jumping for about 1.5 years to get that thing moved so he could put a seawall in so he could build a home. Yes, you need a seawall on Gulf access in order to build a home. On freshwater, you don't. So that's something else to consider. If you're going to buy a freshwater canal home, do you want it to just be sloping grass and maybe some rocks at the bottom, or do you want a seawall? I'm going to say I want a seawall, and that's because gators do exist here. They don't bother us, but they exist. So the problem with that is they can climb right up that bank without the seawall. So that's something you're going to consider if you're going to be on freshwater canal. Now, as far as the home itself and some of the comforts that you're going to want, let's start talking about things like the roof. What kind of roof do you have on it? Is it shingle? Is it tile? Is it metal? Which one would you want? Why would you want it that way? Some people like the metal for its longevity. It has a nice look to it too, kind of a Key West style, but they like that for the longevity, the ease of repairs. The price is a bit more. It's at least double to triple of shingles, and it's going to be similar to tile depending on the type of tile and obviously how big the roof is. But that's a big consideration for you. Another one's a pool cage. A lot of people are backing off of pool cages now. The cost is one of the big reasons, because you're sitting somewhere in the $20,000 to $40,000 range for a pool cage, depending on the size and how high it goes and how much area you're spreading. It can get expensive, but it's super important. It's not just for the bugs. That's just one part of it. The other part is, if you're unaware of this, there is a UV blocking factor that's in the screens. So if you go out in the sun without that screen, you will burn. If you go out under the screen in the lanai, then you're going to have less of a burn. Could you still get burned? Sure, especially if you're sensitive to it. But the majority of the rays will be blocked by the screen, so you're not going to be burnt to a crisp like you would if you didn't have it. Also, I mentioned this on one of the previous videos, a heater and a chiller would be necessary for the pool. My neighbor behind here, his exposure keeps the sun on the pool pretty much all day long. So the temperature got up to 94 degrees at one point. He had to get a chiller put on. It was unbearable to be in the water, so it had to be done. But some of the other things, small things that can be missed, I was playing around with this little remote and found out, yeah, see, these are my under cabinet lights. So in order for me to have under cabinet lights, because it wasn't done at construction, I had to take rechargeables, and they stick with a magnet right up underneath. So you can see what light it puts out. I can change the color and everything, but this is another add-on that you would want to probably do if you didn't have it wired in. Relatively easy, kind of a pain because I have to charge it every once in a while, but it fixes the problem that I had, right? Now, some of the other things that you would be thinking about when it comes to the home: is it in an area with well and septic? Do I want to deal with assessments? Assessments are twofold. It's not just the expense of anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000 now, plus the connection. It's paid over time, about the course of 30 years, but it also has interest on it. So it could get costly. It does pass on to the buyer, but you will have to deal with the mess. There's a ton of dirt and dust and construction vehicles, and this happens for about a year and a half. Not something pleasant. Many people don't want to deal with it. So what they're doing is they're buying homes with water and sewer already. It's already figured into the price of the home because it's already been paid in most cases, but that's something you seriously have to consider. And if you haven't talked to your real estate agent about that yet, you need to. Every one of my clients, we talk about assessments. We want to make sure, crystal clear, you know what you're getting into, so that you don't get stuck with a bill later or a problem that you can't get rid of. One of the things that drives me absolutely nuts is that I have manual shutters. I have to take the screws off, I have to put the shutters on, and I have to screw the screws back in to tighten everything down. I would love, oh my God. Oh my God. This just came in my backyard. Fucking bobcat. Okay, sorry about that. I just saw a bobcat in my backyard. I literally back up to some vacant land that has a bunch of trees and bushes on it. I've heard the coyotes back there numerous times. You'll hear them yipping as soon as one of the lightning alarms goes off, or if sirens go off. But this bobcat literally caught my eye, walked across the yard, walked back again. I thought it might jump over the fence, but it actually went under the fence to get out. I have a small dog that I am taking care of right now, so thank God he wasn't out. That could have been really, really bad. But yeah, that's one of the things that you could expect to find if you move to Florida. Okay, back on to the windows. You need storm protection. So if you're buying an older home that doesn't have storm protection, you need at least to get some manual shutters put on. Manual shutters can be put on any home. All they have to do is drill the holes into the concrete. There's a little metal fixture that goes in there so that a screw can be applied. So you can get it done, but impact windows and doors are the best because you don't have to do anything. And you keep light. One of the big things when you put shutters up, you lose your light. So if you lose power, now you're working on candles and batteries for flashlights. Depending on how long the storm happens or when it comes in, will make the difference on how miserable that is for you. But having these storm windows up will keep the light coming in. It protects you also security-wise. You can't break the damn windows. So if somebody's trying to break into your home, they're not going to do it through the windows. And if they did manage to figure out how, it would give you ample time to find something to deter them or to get the heck out. Anyway, that's one of the big things that you want to consider for your home is get the impact windows and doors. Oh, my naked boy walking through. Impact shutters is just one reason why I also am a huge proponent for new construction. The other is that you have all your codes up to date. You have your 3 nails and the hurricane straps. You have your nailing pattern on your sheathing. You've got the upgraded roof covers. You've got everything that you need to have an efficient and safe home if you're buying new construction. Older homes were built very well, but you might need to add some things to get all those things done. Like the 3rd nail on the hurricane straps wasn't always there, so you may have to fix that. Some older homes might also have an electric panel that cannot be used anymore and has to be changed out to the tune of about $2,000, $2,500. These are just some of the things. You might have to get your piping done. So if you're looking at an older home, make sure it has gotten rid of its copper or... So if you're looking at an older home, just make sure that your home has been replumbed. You want to have the CPVC and the PVC used so that it doesn't get brittle and break down like the other types of material do. Another thing we need to consider here, if you're living in Florida, you're gonna have to repaint your home usually every 5 to 7 years, kind of like that same time frame that you move houses, right? But what happens, the waterproofing technology that's in the paint does wear down over time, and you'll also notice the paint color fades. So if your home's starting to look a little dingy, or if you touch the paint and it comes off on your hand, that's a good indicator that you need to paint the house again. Okay, so amid all the excitement with the Bobcat, I forgot to mention gutters. Gutters in Florida are generally only on the front and the back. The back, if you have a pool, it's gonna be a super gutter just to move all the water. In the front, it's going to cover doorways and garage doors, anywhere you're going to enter or leave, so that it protects you from getting, obviously a waterfall on top of you. But you're going to want to get the gutters on the sides because water will pool and stay up against the wall. The wall is painted for protection against moisture, but the paint only goes down to the grass line. So anything below that will not be protected. And if that water does not get diverted somewhere else, it's going to sit up against the side of the home and potentially seep into the block, which then, again, since it's not painted, the water will seep in, it will get inside the wall and potentially cause mold. So get gutters all the way around. One of the big problems we have here in Florida is the installation of these HVAC units, the air conditioning units. It's super important why we use them. It's not just to cool the house, it's to take the humidity out of the air. That way we don't have mold and stuff growing within the home. Well, these AC units have to be a certain size based on your square footage. If you do not have a big enough unit, you can't get the home cool enough. I was talking to one of my clients about a home that he had previously owned, and he was not able to get the home cooled below 75 degrees. It's because he had a 2-ton air conditioning unit instead of a 2.5-ton. A 2.5-ton will get you up to 1,500 square feet. You need a 3-ton if you are from 15 to 1,800 square feet. I'm just over 1,800, but those efficiencies I mentioned a moment ago, I have dual pane windows, I don't have impact glass, but it insulates the home well enough that I get away with a 3-ton. So 3-ton is probably the minimum I should have for this size home. So if you want to do yourself a favor, Google the square footage of your home to find out what size air conditioning unit that you need, and make sure that you fall within the guidelines if you're having problems with the AC. You may not have any problems at all. AC units here, if you get them serviced regularly, you can last 15 years with these things. If you don't, if you kind of just wing it and let things hang out and get dirty and not cleaned and not serviced along the way, you might only get 7 years out of it. 10 might be a stretch. So make sure you do your maintenance on that so that you don't run into problems either. Another thing that happens with these AC units is mold can start to build inside the unit. So I had a UV light installed inside the AC unit to get rid of the mold. Last time they checked it when they came, all perfect. Everything was cleaned out, There is no mold. So UV light in your AC if you want to avoid the mold. I'm a little susceptible to allergies, so that's why I did it. Even if you're not, I don't know anybody that wants to willingly breathe mold, but that could happen if you do not get that UV light installed. Pests, we know everybody loves pests, right? You want some cockroaches, some flying cockroaches? Probably not. That's why we do have pest control inside and outside. The reason why I mention outside is many of our pests live in your yard. And if you have your yard treated, it kills them before they can come in the house. Another thing, I was doing some research about keeping spiders and bugs away, and one of the things they do not like, there's certain plants that they don't like, but one thing in particular that I purchased for a different reason is peppermint oil spray. Well, this spray I use, you might remember, to get rid of frogs. Well, it turns out I can get rid of spiders and bugs and all kinds of stuff with this peppermint spray. Apparently the bugs don't like peppermint. So spray your doorways, spray your windows, on the frames anyway, just to keep the bugs and spiders and everything from coming in your house. When we're talking about why you're choosing a home, we have to consider the area too. Area is going to tell you a lot about how you're going to travel around, what you can expect to be around you as far as amenities, shopping, dining. It's also going to dictate the price of your home. Obviously, you've heard before, location, 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 right? So make sure you're picking the right location for the things you need to do. If you're going to commute a lot, I would say come and stay here. Grab an Airbnb or a VRBO or Verbo, I guess is what they're saying these days. Get the type of home that you are considering buying and try it out. Stay for, I don't know, at least 3 days. I would say a week is probably better. But if you know that you're going to be working, say, in Fort Myers and you want to live in Cape Coral, do the commute at the time of the morning that you would have to go to work. That way you're going to get a better idea and understanding of what your commutes look like. And you might find out that you're going to have to change your plans and move over to Fort Myers instead of being in the Cape. Because the bridges can get hectic in the morning, especially between the hours of 7 and 9 or 6:30 and 8:30. But just be aware that that's going to happen, and do your best to test it out before that time comes. All right, some neighborhood red flags that could come up, and these are things that if you know you're going to move into a certain subdivision or a certain gated community or anything like that, be aware of these things. The seasonal traffic, this is also talking about not just the roads around it, but within the community. Some of these communities are so large that it takes you time to get out. And if they've got a speed limit of, say, 15 miles an hour, it could take you a while to get out of that community. So test that out too. Test out what it's like inside the community. Also, use the amenities. Is the pool going to be super busy? Is the gym going to be overloaded? Is the pool table that they might have in the library area going to ever be available if I want to go shoot pool? Things like this, you've got to test them out. You've got to get to know what that looks like so that you aren't surprised when you move into the place you can't find a chair at the pool. It happens, trust me. It's happened to us. It gets super busy, especially in season. All the visitors want to be by the pool, taking in the sun, and you might just be left hanging. Another thing you have to be concerned about or considering is we have a lot of Airbnb and VRBO properties here. In fact, Cape Coral alone has about 6,000 of them. So you could end up having a neighbor that already has an Airbnb and VRBO. You might have heard about the wild house parties and stuff. It can happen. It happens here. We've had numerous complaints about people being loud on the waterways. That's one of the big ones. When you're on a waterway, the sound travels. So when you're on these canals and you're playing music and you're talking loud and you're yelling and screaming and playing music and all this stuff, it carries right down the canal. So you're probably going to tick a lot of people off. You might even have a visit from the officers in the neighborhood to ask you to kindly be a little more quiet. And again, HOAs, we know all about HOAs, homeowners associations. There's always going to be issues with them, whether it's somebody on the board that wants to make your life difficult, or because their rules are too stringent, can't leave your garage door open, can't park on the street, have to have a certain color home, have to have certain types of plants and trees. Yes, it can be inundating, it can be difficult. And my 6-foot fence that I have here, it's not happening. You're not getting that inside a community. Many of these deed restricted places aren't going to allow certain standards to be broken. 4-foot fence is all you get. And for some dogs, that's not going to hold you in. So could be problematic for some, but those are the things that you have to get into deep detail on to understand. Another one I'm going to hit real quick, homestead exemption. Please, please, please understand if you're buying a home that was owned by somebody else first, and you see their taxes were, say, let's just say the home's $800,000, right? And you look at their taxes from last year and it was like $6,500. You're like, whoa, I got great taxes too. No, you don't. That was the previous owner's homestead exemption that kept that price down. The actual valuation on the home is what the millage rate gets multiplied times. So that $800,000 house might have a valuation of $900,000, which then you're looking at $15,000 worth of taxes. And that's because you haven't had time to apply your homestead yet. And when you transfer that property, it goes by the new sale price. So you won't be able to lock that in until the year after. You can't apply for your homestead. Well, you can apply it almost immediately, but it won't kick in until the following tax season. So you're going to be taxed at that higher rate, and it's going to probably stay there because the only discounts you really get are about $50,000 worth off of the, say, 900. Then they do the millage rate against that amount. So you're going to still be looking at double digit, like probably 13, 14,000 in taxes on that same property. But you will not have that low tax. So please keep that in mind. Make sure that you get the new number before you make any decisions about purchasing a property. When you're looking at purchasing a property here too, think about your lifestyle. What do you want your lifestyle to be? Outdoor living in Florida is one of the #1 things that people are here for. We have sunshine all year long. It's the most amazing thing. And again, you can talk about how hot you think it is here. I've been speaking with so many buyers from other areas of the country that are telling me, look, man, I get the worst of everything all year long. I get the snow, I get the heat and humidity, I get the tornadoes, I get, I don't know, flooding, whatever it is. Everywhere has issues. Look at California recently. They've been beat up. So this is something that we want to look at is when you come to Florida, outdoor living. Does it have a big lanai? Is it screened so that when the bugs do come, I can still stay outside or even protect myself from the sun when I'm in the sun? So outdoor living, let's attack that one first. If you want a great view, get on the water or on a preserve. If you want a big space, go ahead and get that big space while you can. It's not as easy just to flip it out later. Get it in the initial purchase, or at least get the most of what you can get. You're not always going to get everything, but you're going to get the most of it. Nature and wildlife, hey, that bobcat just came walking in the backyard out of nowhere. Before I had put the fence up, I had one coyote at about dusk, so it was getting into nighttime. One came flying out of the woods, chased by another one. And they came probably within 20, 30 yards of me and my son. We were out back shooting BB guns. They came flying out of the woods, chasing one another, and we were shocked. You're not used to seeing that kind of stuff. But have I seen a gator? No, no gators. So this whole thing about everywhere in Florida has gators, no, they're here, but we just don't see them that often. We're gonna have more of a tendency of seeing coyotes, and that's my first bobcat. In 6 years of being here, I've never seen one. So that, to me, was kind of cool. If you have kids that go to school, don't worry too much about the schools overall. Most of our schools, depending on what level they are rated very similarly to one another. You will have school choice in most cases. They have changed the way that the zones are laid out now, so certain areas you may find might not match up with the school that you want. So do your homework to find out what school options are there for you so that you don't have to deal with not getting the school you wanted, but more so, you don't want to be put into a school that really doesn't fit for your child. So do the homework on that in advance. I'll help out any way I can. Homeowners insurance is going to come down to age of the home, whatever codes have been established on it, and the roof covering is a big one. So anything older than 10 years is going to start to give you problems. So if you're going to re-roof your home, I would encourage you to change to one of the surfaces that lasts a lot longer. Insurance won't give you a hassle about, which would then be either tile or metal. Unfortunately, after Ian, I did put shingles back on my roof, so I'm probably going to have to re-roof at some point just for insurance purposes. But insurance is not all out of whack, out of line. You heard me say my house is 6 years old, has a new roof on it. I think it's about 2 years now. And my insurance as a whole is $1,800 a year. I don't need flood insurance because I'm in an X zone, and that's what we can help you do. We can help you get it into an X zone so you don't pay the flood insurance, or maybe you're going to get in with a seller that is able to transfer their policy over to you and you steal it for next to nothing. We had one client that was selling their home. Their flood insurance was only $1,900 a year. The new policy would have been $10,000. Yeah, that's how big of a difference there was in that. So let us help you to get the policy transferred to save you a boatload of money. Okay, so that is a little bit about the things that you are going to want to consider when you're buying a home, because you will forget things. It's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. So if you got everything out of this video, you're welcome. If you need more information, check out one of these other videos. And if you have a specific question that you need an answer to, why don't you just give a call? You can text or you can email. Any which way, you're going to get a hold of either myself or Eric, and we will help you walk through this process to make this one of the easiest transactions of your life, because we've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.